Reporting about the trans community has been abysmal. I'm Professor Einstein. I'm a media scholar, and I share my work about the dark arts of media and marketing. The conversations going on about this now relate to an article that came out in the New York Times last year. It suggested that young people are transitioning without being properly assessed. The reporter also interviewed someone who was notably anti-trans without noting that person's bias. Because of this and other reporting in the Times, activists sent a letter to the paper. The very next day, this editorial appeared in the New York Times defending J.K. Rowling, who is well known for her anti-trans perspective. So I'm going to talk about a couple of media concepts that explain what's going on here. One of them is framing. Some of you may remember these pictures from Hurricane Katrina. The black man on the right is looting a grocery store, and the white people on the left are finding bread and soda. It's the same event, but it's framed in two different ways. Another concept is objectivity, which has been getting an awful lot of attention these days. And the question is, as it says in this Columbia magazine article, is objectivity even possible? Wesley Lowery, who won a Pulitzer as a reporter for the Washington Post, suggests that we fetishize the idea of objectivity because he says the decisions in terms of what stories are run, what resources are invested, who to quote, are limited by the people who make those decisions, and those have mostly been made by white men. In terms of the New York Times reporting, it was framed in terms of who they chose to speak with and who they chose not to speak with. And given the editorial that appeared in the New York Times, it is hard to believe that the newspaper is objective, at least when it comes to this topic. Are there medical concerns about people transitioning? Of course there are. But there are also medical concerns about people not transitioning. And more importantly right now, there are concerns about reporting in papers like the New York Times being used by politicians to frame what is going on in terms of regulations against trans people. I'm not going to tell you to walk away from the news. Journalists are important. I have friends who are journalists, and they take their job really seriously. But what I would like to see is the people who are making a lot of money, and the New York Times is making a lot of money off of things like God Help Us, Wordle, and put it back into the newsroom where it belongs.